Hello everyone. I'm Ingrid Burton. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Quantcast, and I just want to say how thrilled I am to be here today at virtual CES. Of course, I miss seeing everybody in person and reading the room and figuring out what the key questions are that people might have on their minds, but I'm really excited to talk about this topic, which is demystifying AI for marketers. I've been a marketing person for a long time, but I want to talk about what AI and machine learning specifically can do for you as a marketer and how you can get started and what you should be thinking about as you go through your marketing journey. But before I get started, I mean, if you saw me in the room, I'd probably talk a little bit about myself. So I will do that now. So my journey, my personal journey has been from math to marketing. In fact, I did a Medium post about 4 or 5 years ago about math to marketing and how I got to where I am today as a CMO. I think the incredible part of my journey is I not only did math in the university and graduated with a degree in math and computer science, I was also a software developer early in my career. And now I've been a CMO and a marketing executive at various tech companies, but you'll start to see a pattern here. I was at Sun Microsystems, I was at H2O AI, which is one of the leading open source AI machine learning companies, Silver Spring Networks, Plantronics, SAP. And what I did at all of those companies was really market around new and advanced technologies such as Java and HANA, big data, the cloud, early in the days, Internet of Things, and so forth. So I have a keen understanding of technology and figuring out how it fits in the sweet spot. But I'm thrilled to be able to talk to you about AI, machine learning, data, and why it's important for marketers in today's world. One thing I've learned along the way, and that I talked about in my Medium post a few years back, was what's common between math and marketing? Well, let's start with reasoning. You have to be analytical if you're a marketer. In today's marketing world, the MarTech stack is complex, and there's a lot of moving pieces that are going on in the industry today. You might have heard about some of those things at CES, but definitely you have to be analytical. You have to be thinking about the art and the science, not just the art. Number two, marketing is about numbers. How are we all getting measured as marketers? We're getting measured on metrics. How many people, clicked on your ad? How many people opened your email? How many people did you bring into the pipeline? How much revenue did you drive? There's numbers involved in everything in marketing today. As a CMO, I'm keenly aware of that. As any digital marketer out there, you know this, like you are an analytical, numbers-driven person. And the other thing about math and marketing that they have in common is creativity. So I contend that engineers and scientists and mathematicians are very creative people. And what are marketing people? We're creatives as well. So there's a lot of similarities between math and marketing. And that's what I'm going to talk about today, because I think it'll be really, I'm going to really break it down to, simple terms, hopefully, or clear terms so you can understand how you can use AI, machine learning, data in your marketing journey. So at first blush, AI can really appear daunting. You hear the words AI and you think artificial intelligence. What is the first thing that comes to mind? A lot of people I talk to, Terminator, right? They think about robots. They think about robotics. Maybe they think about self-driving cars. Maybe they know about self-driving cars. Or they hear about image recognition software where, you can see facial recognition and there's so many tools there. Or maybe they know about measuring sentiment analysis of their customers or their prospects with natural language processing, NLP technologies. There's also machine learning. There's also deep learning. There's just so many concepts out there. If you're in marketing or a business professional today, I urge you to learn the terms. I'm not going to go through those today, but I urge you to learn the terms, understand where the technology is going and how it can help you in many different ways. Like I said, sentiment analysis is one of them. My number one go-to resource that I will talk to you about right now is go to Coursera. Andrew Ng has done an incredible course called AI for Everyone. Okay, this is for business people, for students, for anyone that has an interest in AI. Go to that course on Coursera. I'm not sure what the cost is. I think it's really nominal. And there's like 8 sessions, I believe. I would at least watch the first 2 sessions, which can talk to you about what AI is. So AI from first blush appears very daunting, but I'm going to break it down to simple terms that you can understand. Let's start with data. AI is nothing without data. It is absolutely nothing. We need the data, and the data is there. Data is being gathered at a phenomenal rate, I think, as all of you know, from all aspects, all walks of life, all devices that you have, whether it's the one in your pocket or the one on your desktop or your TV or what have you. Your car is emitting data. There are sensors everywhere. There's data everywhere. And AI, machine learning, can do nothing without data. So as I said, it's everywhere. So your customer historical data patterns. If you're a retailer, you have point of sale data, you have customer preferences, you might have customer loyalty programs. That data is streaming in from many different places. And, we talk about digital transformation. I contend there's an AI transformation. Every click, every swipe, everything is being recorded, either anonymously and with consent, hopefully, but it is there. The data is there. You have it on your business side, it's on the network, it's happening everywhere, coming from every source. So data is everywhere, and it is the most important thing when you start talking about AI. AI can only learn from data training sets. AI learns from how you've seen historicals to help you get to the future. So past to present to future. And now let's talk about machine learning. Machine learning is simply math. Okay, don't think it's anything more than what it is. It is math. And machine learning is about putting equations together, creating models that can act on all those millions, thousands and millions and hundreds of thousands of data points out there in a way, because we have the compute resources available from, computing has changed. You have it in the cloud, you have it on-prem. Algorithms are out there, they're open source, they're available from companies like Google or H2O AI and others. And then, of course, there's the data scientists that is becoming a new, a big, strong career field for analytical type people. So machine learning is all about math, right? So X plus Y equals Z. But think about if you had millions of data points about customers, about your market, about what's going on. You and I as humans can't really see that, right? But a machine can. They can learn from what we know. People create the models. The machines don't create the models. We create the models. We act on the math. We use math to act on the data to do what? To create what I call the 3P's. Patterns, to see patterns, preferences, and make predictions. This is really key to what's happening with AI in marketing, right? You have to be able to make those predictions and you have to see it. Why? Because then you're really going to get to know your customer or your prospect or your community, or your students. It's really going to give you a or your employees, giving you a really common understanding of what's happening within your base. Gut feel is not enough anymore. Obviously, I use my gut feel every now and then, actually daily, but data helps inform me make better decisions, be rational about the approaches that I'm taking as a marketer and making sure that I, act on that data. So I contend that it's math. It's not magic what marketing is doing. It's all boiled down to mathematics, right? So we have to think about patterns, preferences, and predictions. So here's some examples of how AI is being used today, right? You're being asked to increase sales, increase revenue. How do I go after a current, we talk about land and expand in marketing. How do I cross-sell, upsell, right? Now, if I know, customer A has bought this offering and customer B has bought the same offering, but also bought this one, you can start seeing a pattern there, right? What is the next best offer? How do I predict who's the next best customer? There's a pattern that starts to emerge. How do I place my ads? Where do I place them? Where do I launch my marketing campaigns? To whom, right? If you just put it all out there, you're just like putting up a billboard on a highway, you're only reaching a limited subset of people. Digitally is the way to go. So how do you make sure that you're placing things where you want them, you're going after the right audience? AI can help you today. And of course, with building loyalty as well, this is really something where you just learn more and more about your customers, what's working, what's not working. We sometimes talk about, A/B testing and so forth, but building loyalty is really what we're all trying to do. Aren't we all trying to know and grow our customers better? Isn't that what we're all trying to do in marketing? Aren't we trying to do campaigns in order to make more money? That is, in the basics, when you think about it that way, you want to have the tools and the techniques to really make it much more achievable for you. So let's talk a little bit about patterns. And I'll break this down into how the patterns are found, preferences, and predictions. So if you think about patterns, think about what other people are doing. Like I said, like if you see customer A, B, and C all doing a similar thing, that's a pattern, it's a similar grouping. Now, when you talk about the math, you have maybe thousands of variables that you're acting on in this pattern, right? Same demographics, so let's break that down, like zip code, income level, gender, education, age. These are all the demographics, but then marry that with weather. If you're like in the retail business, big storms coming, you're not going to get as many people coming to the store, or maybe you will. So you have to understand that pattern that is happening out there by looking at the similar groupings that are happening. And an AI and machine learning algorithm can find that for you, create a model, and show you and present you with data that you can act on. So patterns are very important. The next thing I want to talk about is preferences. Okay, this is a topic near and dear to my heart, and I'm going to give you a real personal example. So we are all consumers. You're a marketing professional, you're an advertising professional, you're a business professional. But what are you at the end of the day? You're a person, right? You're a consumer. Now, wouldn't you love to be able to tell the right brands at the right time when you're interested in something? Don't you want a better offer? I always want to get a deal, right? I don't like paying full price. I don't think anyone likes paying full price. I want a deal. I want an offer or information served up to me when I want it, when it's applicable to me. So here's my example. This is me a couple years ago hiking in desolation wilderness in the Sierra Nevadas. Okay, you may not know this about me, but I'm telling you all right now. I'm very outdoorsy. I'm very athletic. I love to go traveling. I love backpacking. I love sleeping outdoors. Love my family, love interacting with my family, and I love going on adventures. So this is who I am. That's my preferences. Now, what would I like? Not this, because this is what gets served up to me today. And I'm not kidding when I say these are great brands, but these are some of the ads that kind of get served up to me. Matchmaking ads. No, I'm happily married. I have a family. I'm not interested, right? Why do I get those? What I'd rather see is having outdoor brands, and I'll name my favorites in case you're online: North Face, Patagonia, REI. My favorite outdoor brands, Black Diamond, give me offers on gear that's available that I might want to take on my next trip, right? I'm always looking for the best shoes, actually even, maybe a new style of tent that's lighter weight. So I'm not carrying 40 pounds, I'm maybe carrying 35 pounds. Every ounce matters when you're backpacking. So really looking for, what's important to me. And so think about this from a consumer standpoint. You're a consumer. What's important to you? We as an industry can do better, right? I contend that we can fix this mismatch of the ads that are getting served to me, because maybe I mistakenly clicked on something that I shouldn't have, and now I'm getting these weird ads, when in fact, I'm really that outdoors person that wants new gear and has, the ability to buy new gear. I want to buy new gear. I love gear, right? So we as an industry can fix this. We need relevant content served up to us, but we can help by, becoming the consumer first and providing our consent to our preferences. There are solutions out there that you can put on your website, you can put into your marketing mix that make that a reality. So you can ask consumers, what are your real preferences? What would you like to see? Not just an opt-in, but what do I want to see? So that my favorite brands, hopefully they were listening, are going to serve me up a 20% offer, 10% offer, 10% off offer, because I would love to see that. And trust me, I would click on that. So, and I would probably buy. I am that kind of consumer. And we all know in each of our industries, there are those consumers. So let's get to predictions. This is really where AI and machine learning really become important. It's how do you figure out what's going to happen next, right? It's really important. And actually, this is the breakthrough I think that marketers need to understand, is that it can show you what's going to happen next because it's taking a model based on historical patterns of your data, okay, and saying, I have built a model based on historical patterns, so now I can almost model what's going to happen next. Now, in the world of COVID, models broke. The patterns that happened from March until June, maybe even now, the models are probably continuously breaking. So you're never done, right? You're always creating new models. There are, the technology stacks are there that are working on new models to help you see what's ahead. Because isn't that more important to know than what happened in the past? You use the past to predict the future. And you use current data that is collecting right now, that says we're all sitting here in CES, watching a CES presentation, which means we're probably interested in technology, entertainment, things like that, and helping us predict of how we're going to market to our audiences. Again, how do we grow our audiences and make them part of our equation for our business success? Let me give you an example of what we saw at Quantcast. Just one example. Whoops. Let me go back. When the March happened, 2020, right? We went on to lockdown. A lot of countries did, a lot of states did. I sit here in California. We went into a massive lockdown in March. Interest in car sales and dealer pages, car comparisons went dramatically down, and we saw that. But interesting enough, in April, it started to increase. In fact, it started to increase at a rate of 48%. The traffic that we started seeing in our first party consent-based data set, one of the largest data sets in the world, started to increase. We saw these comparisons increasing. We saw, some patterns are emerging here and preferences. People were looking at cars. Why were they looking at cars? One of the reasons we contend is during a pandemic, you weren't going to go use public transportation. You might be looking for a used car before getting on a bus, right? It was safer from a health perspective to have your own transportation. So we started to see a pattern emerge. And what really happened over the course of, several weeks is that car dealerships, automotive sales went up. In fact, car sales went up in the face of the pandemic. And you could see this probably with every industry as summer, started to approach and warmer weather set in, restaurants started opening up, maybe a little bit of travel, maybe. And I would say that you can almost count on a pattern emerging so you can make a prediction about what's going to happen next. So, you need to look at data and look at data almost on a daily basis to see what's going to happen next so you can act on it. Wouldn't it be great if we knew when this turnaround is going to happen next in this COVID environment? I think there's data that's going to start to show that, early predictors of what's going to happen. Then you can make offers to people that are, in the market for a new car or, new clothing, want to go traveling. I would say that travel and entertainment is going to be one of the first things that we're all going to want to do. That's my gut feel, but I think the data will tell us that as well. So really look at the data to, as a marketer to help you make predictions about what's going to happen next. Really in, thinking about it, AI and marketing makes perfect sense, right? Using math and data, so machine learning and data to really help make you a better marketing professional, help your company do better at going after new audiences, current customers, creating loyalty is really important. So, use the technology, use your data that you have at hand, or augment it with other people's data sets. There are data, other places you can get data, where you can augment data sets that you have, and work with the MarTech companies and the MarTech stacks that are out there, so that you can not only focus on your marketing and creativity, you don't have to focus on the MarTech that's out there. Let the technology do some of that work for you, and then use your intuition, your data, to go drive real results in your marketing. So really, to summarize, it's not magic, it's all in the math. But this is going to give you the ability to really know and grow your customers as you go on your journey in marketing, especially as we come out of this pandemic at some point in 2021. As we come through this year, you want to use that technology that's at your fingertips, that's available to you today, to get going on a new journey and using AI, machine learning, and your data to really know and grow your customers. So I wanted to thank you for your time, hopefully your interest. You can learn more. I'm going to actually open it up for questions. I'm not sure if there's any questions.
Yeah, looks like there's a few in the Q&A chat. One was, what are the top current AI platforms you'd recommend to marketers?
Well, there's different parts of it, right? If you have a data science team or just getting started, there's turnkey solutions, but there's also platforms that a data science team might use for their own interests, and those are people like at my prior company, H2O, Data Robot, Data IQ, or some of the companies for a platform. But then there's a lot of MarTech out there that I would check out, and Einstein is one of them in Salesforce. I would check out some of the things that they're doing there. There's a lot of others, but you would have to really, ask the right questions around, is this really AI, or are you just doing predictive analytics? So you have to ask some of the right questions. Maybe that's a future talk I'll give at another event. But really, like, what are the MarTech components that you have to use? And ask the right questions around, is it going to help me with predictions? How does it work? Tell me more about the AI. But again, if you're new to AI and machine learning, I would go take that Coursera course, and you'll know what to ask. It's all in there in course number, I think, session number 1 and 2 for business people. Is there another question, Aaron?
So I got a couple just come in. What types of other data sets and metrics do you like to match with internal data?
Oh gosh, so there's so many others out there. There's intent data that you can get from various companies, but let me put the shoes in, put myself in the shoes of like a real estate agent or a retailer, right? Somebody like that who's might want to look at weather patterns, weather data, demographic data. I think people like Zillow actually have full data sets of demographics. They know who's bought homes in your area or in your local market. They know the demographic there. There's Dun & Bradstreet data. There's a lot of data out there that you can use to augment and it's augmentation of your current data sets. You need to bring that all together and start to use it for the patterns, the preferences, and the predictions. And then, of course, there's first-party data sets. We actually have a large first-party data set at Quantcast, one of the largest in the world, can give you real insights. That was that automotive example that I showed. So there's just a variety of them. And I think it's in marketplaces, they're coming on strong data marketplaces. You'll see more and more of that as people start to not only, and it's anonymous, right? It's anonymous data, but it gives you an idea of, gender X, person Y, this is what they did, and it'll give you more insights into your business if you marry it with your current historical business data. Any other questions, Aaron? I can't see the questions. I apologize for that.
Oh, it's no problem. They're rolling in here. So let's see. What are the most requested AI applications during the pandemic?
Well, there were some that were really interesting, and I think we were all looking at this in the April timeframe. If you think about it, what was going to happen next? Where was the outbreak going to happen? How many ICU beds were going to get filled? I mean, some of the examples are even currently like what's the trend line, when are we going to flatten the curve, which is its statistical analysis. When were we going to flatten the curve? You don't hear that language anymore, but early in the pandemic, you heard that language, and there was full data science teams working from various companies working on trying to predict the outbreak, the spread, and where they could put PPEs, right? The equipment, the masks, the ventilators at the time. Where were the ICU beds? Where were the hospitals going to be most impacted? At my prior company, we worked on with a major healthcare system. Where were they going to be impacted next? Because they needed to shift staffing around. Where do you put the nurses and doctors? I think right now it's all overrun, but back in April, no one knew what was going to happen. And so they started creating models around flu-like behavior of how, using that data set, flu data set from prior years to maybe map what was going to happen next in different counties, countries, cities, hospital systems, et cetera. So that was an ongoing one very early on. I think now I think that is still really important right now, not just in the healthcare system, but what stores are going to open next. I don't know about you, but I haven't been to a restaurant in ages. Like, I can't wait. What's going to open next? Where do you put the food supplies? And it's not just takeout. It's like, where do we put the staffing? Where are you going to have to hire people? Those are some of the AI questions, I think, some of the questions that some of the AI companies are looking at, and how they move forward. So it's not necessarily an app, it's a problem statement.
All right, I think we got time for one more.
Okay,
look like the most liked one I have left is any driverless AI software recommendations.
Oh, sounds like I know who might have asked that. Somebody I know, I think. Automatic machine learning is a whole category amongst itself, right? So there's a number of automatic machine learning platforms out there, and they help data science teams or even mathematicians or savvy analysts get answers to the business problem that a particular company might have. So all data science starts with asking the right questions. First, you have to have data, then you got to ask the right questions. So there's a number of those. There is H2O has a driverless AI solution. Data Robot has one. Data IQ has one. There's several others, but those are the kind of in the top 3 of automatic machine learning. I think Gartner has a whole magic quadrant on this, so you can go check that out and see what the different solutions are. Primarily, those are for savvy analysts. Again, you could have a marketing person like myself who has, a math background or a statistics background that could use those kind of offerings. Or you might have a data science team or a sales operations team that has the ability to ask the right questions and get the answer in some of those more automatic machine learning offerings. Hopefully that helps. There's a lot of information out there. Again, I think we're out of time. I wanted to thank you all for joining. I could talk about this topic all day and all night, but you can look us up at Quantcast. We have a spotlight page. I think we're putting that in the chat session and the Q&A, or you can link me in, ask me questions. This is a passion of mine. It's full circle for me as a marketer to come from my math to marketing background, and I want to help as many marketing people be successful as possible. So thank you again for your time. Thank you very much. Have a great CES.